Good evening, student. This is a short note on the lesser sake of peritoneum, and this short note we will write in various heads. That is, the first will be the introduction, a very short introduction of the lesser sake, the boundaries. We will talk about the boundaries of the lesser sake, then the recesses of the lesser sake, and ultimately, lastly, we will talk about the applied anatomy. Now, this lesser sake of peritoneum is also known as the omental bursa. Okay, it is called as omental bursa, and this is a recess or the recess of the peritoneal cavity behind the stomach. See this in this diagram, this is the stomach. So this is a recess here which is shown here in the red shade here, where it is written as lesser sake. It is situated behind the stomach, behind the lesser omentum, and behind the liver. Okay, that is the caudate lobe of the liver. Now this lesser sake communicate with this greater sake. This is the greater sake here, okay, through an opening into the lesser sake, which is called as the foramina of Winslow or epiploic foramina. Okay, epiploic. That means the greater and lesser sake, they are in communication with each other through the epiploic foramina. Okay, so it is a recess. Okay, a recess of the greater sake, or it is a diverticula of the lesser sake. Okay, let us come to see the boundaries. But before I come to the boundary, I will just tell you about this vertical disposition of the this peritoneum here. Now this is the diaphragm, okay, and this is the liver. Now if you trace the parietal peritoneum, let me increase the zoom. Okay, just see it here, this diagram. Sorry. Now if you trace this from the parietal peritoneum, this from umbilicus, this will cover the under surface of the diaphragm, then it will reflect onto the superior surface of the liver, to the anterior surface, then it will come to the inferior surface of the liver. Then it will from the fissure for ligamentum venosum, this layer will descend down, okay, and will form the anterior layer of the lesser omentum, will come to the lesser curvature of the stomach here, then cover the anterior surface of the stomach to the greater curvature of the stomach, and then will form the anterior layer of the greater omentum. Then this will turn on itself, okay, and will then just lie in front of the transverse colon, which is covered by the peritoneum, and will reach to the pancreas here, okay, pancreas here. Then will go down to form itself the transverse mesocolon and then the posterior abdominal wall. This is the reflection. If we see the inner lining of this lesser omentum, and if we start tracing it from the fissure for ligamentum venosum, this will form the another layer of the lesser omentum. So this two layer will form the lesser omentum, then it will cover the posterior surface of the stomach, and then it will cover the greater omentum as a second layer, and then it will turn itself to cover here the pancreas and the posterior abdominal wall, okay, upper part of the posterior abdominal wall, till it will go to the under surface of the diaphragm again, and then will reflect on posterior surface of the liver to come to the fissure for ligamentum venosum after covering the caudate lobe of the liver, okay, caudate lobe. So this structure which is shown in the red shade is the lesser sake. Okay. Now it will be easy to understand the boundaries of the lesser sake. Let us come to the anterior boundary of the lesser sake. Now the anterior boundary of the lesser sake here is formed by the caudate lobe of the liver here. Okay. Then it is the lesser omentum, okay, this is the lesser omentum, and below the lesser omentum it is the stomach. So the anterior boundary is formed by the stomach, caudate lobe of the liver, the lesser omentum, stomach, and then it is the greater omentum. These all from here to here forms the anterior boundary of the lesser sac. Okay, and this is the anterior layer of the greater omentum formed by the two double layer of the peritoneum. Okay. Now let us come to the posterior border, boundaries, posterior boundary. So the posterior layer of the greater omentum. Now these two folds of the peritoneum will turn on itself and will form the posterior layer of the greater omentum. Okay. Then this will cover the transverse colon. That means it will pass in front of the transverse colon, which itself is covered by the peritoneum. Okay. Then it will cover the transverse mesocolon. So these are all in posterior boundaries. Okay, posterior boundaries. So then it will cover the pancreas. Okay, the body of the pancreas. And then it will cover, if you will go to the posterior, upper part of the posterior abdomen, then it will cover the kidney. Okay, it will cover to the kidney onto the left side. Okay, so it is the kidney which will be under cover of the lesser omentum. Okay, lesser sac. Okay, it will be under cover of the lesser sac, the posterior boundary, and then it will cover to the left suprarenal. Okay, so kidney, left suprarenal, then splenic vessels, and ultimately here is the diaphragm. So this is right from here up to here, it is the posterior boundary. Okay, it is posterior boundary. Now I will repeat it from above. It is diaphragm, then it will be the splenic vessels, then it will be the suprarenal gland, left, and the left kidney, and then here it will be the pancreas, transverse mesocolon, transverse colon, and then it is the posterior layer of the greater omentum. Okay, so these are the structures in posterior wall. Now this structure here, which I was saying that it will be the kidney, suprarenal, then splenic vessels, they form what is called as the right from pancreas, it is the stomach bag. That means posterior surface of the stomach is separated with these structure through the lesser sac. That means intervening between the posterior surface of stomach and the structure on posterior abdominal wall, they are separated from each other by the presence of this bursa, okay, omental bursa, or that of the lesser sac. Okay, lesser sac. So that the movements of the viscera, say for example the stomach can take place onto the structure which are fixed in the posterior wall of the abdomen. Okay, posterior wall. Let us now come to the recess. Okay, what are the recess of the lesser sac or prolongation? Okay, invagination or prolong. The superior recess is this. See this is going on superior side towards diaphragm. Now this superior recess lies behind the lesser omentum and the liver. It lies behind the lesser omentum and that of the liver. That is called as the superior recess. The inferior recess is this. See this lesser sac is a cavity which is extending inferiorly into the inferior recess, and this inferior recess lies between the anterior and posterior layers of the greater omentum. These two were anterior fold and these two are the posterior. So it lies between anterior and posterior layers of the greater omentum. Then there is a third, okay, recess that is called as the splenic recess that lies between gastrosplenic and the lino-renal ligament. But this you will be able to understand if you see the horizontal disposition of the peritoneum, okay, at the level of the lesser omentum, at the level of the lesser omentum. So let us now, I will explain you about the horizontal disposition of the peritoneum. See here, this double fold of the peritoneum, this is a parietal peritoneum here I have shown you in the blue line. And this double fold of the peritoneum which comes from the anterior abdominal wall to the liver is nothing but this is ligamentum, I mean say this is the Fox ligament, okay, falciform ligament. This is called as falciform, which goes to the anterior surface of the liver, okay, and divides the liver into right and the left lobes. Now, this double fold will enclose that peritoneum completely to that of the liver. Now, if you trace this on one side to the anterolateral wall of the abdomen, it will come here to cover the kidney, that is the left kidney. Let me tell you, this is the anterior surface, this is the right, here it is the right, this is the left, okay, and this is the posterior, where you will see that the aorta and the vena cava are present. Aorta and vena cava, so it is posteriors. So let us trace this. This will come and cover the left kidney, and after left kidney, then it will go towards the spleen. This is the spleen. This is the kidney left, this is the right kidney is here, this is the aorta, this is inferior vena cava, this is the cross section of the stomach is here, okay, and then this will, as I was telling you, that after covering the anterior aspect of the kidney, this will reflect onto the spleen, towards the hilum of the spleen. It will go towards the hilum of the spleen. From the hilum of the spleen, it will turn and cover the spleen and again come to the hilum of the spleen, and then from here it will go to the anterior surface of the stomach, to that the anterior layer of the lesser omentum, and then it will wind round the three structures which are present at the free margin of the lesser. This is the free margin where three structures are present. Which are this structure? This is the bile duct and the hepatic artery, okay, and just posterior to these two structure is the portal vein. So these are the three structures of which are present at the free margin of the lesser omentum, okay. This is the lesser omentum, right. Once it has crossed the free margin, after covering this, then I have represented it into the red color because it is going to form the boundaries of the lesser sac. So it will form the posterior layer of the lesser omentum, then it will cover the posterior surface of the stomach to the greater curvature here, and then from greater curvature this will go to the hilum of the spleen. So now here this is the double fold of the peritoneum extending from greater curvature of the stomach to the hilum of the spleen, and this is called as the gastrosplenic ligament. Gastrosplenic ligament. So this is the gastrosplenic ligament is here. So from greater curvature of stomach to that of the spleen. I'm sorry, toward the spleen. Then from after covering the hilum of the spleen, this will reflect, and then the two folds, they will come close to each other, which are going towards the kidney, okay. So this double fold of the peritoneum here will be called as the lino-renal ligament. Line means spleen, so it is lino-renal ligament. So there are the two ligaments now. One is the gastrosplenic and another is the lino-renal ligament in a simplest form. And then this layer of the peritoneum, after covering the kidney, will cover that of the aorta, then the inferior vena cava, and then it will again go and cover the right kidney, and then it will come back to the falciform ligament from where we have started tracing on from left, then it has come to the right. So if you will notice that here in the red shadow, what I have shown here from this free margin of the lesser omentum in front of the inferior vena cava, this will form an opening to the lesser sac, what is called as the epiploic foramina. So this is the epiploic foramina, and this whole thing is the greater sac which continues with that of the lesser sac. As we have learned in the previous diagram, that the anterior boundary of the lesser sac is formed by the caudate lobe of the liver, that was at a higher level, but here it is formed by the here lesser omentum. This lesser omentum is here, okay, and the posterior surface of the stomach, okay, it is the posterior surface of the stomach. And then here in this you can also see that anterior boundary is also formed by the gastrosplenic ligament. So right from free margin of the lesser omentum, stomach, and the gastrosplenic ligament, they form the anterior boundary of the lesser sac. Similarly, here is the posterior boundary of the lesser sac, that is the linorenal ligament, the kidney, okay, peritoneum covering over the left kidney, to the aorta, to the inferior vena cava. These are the boundaries of the lesser sac. So, what I was telling you, that the third recess is called as the splenic recess. The upper two recesses we have learned was superior and inferior recess, okay, which I have shown you in this diagram, the superior recess, and this was the inferior recess of this lesser sac. But then here this diagram will show you in the lesser sac there is one more recess between the gastrosplenic and the linorenal ligament going towards the hilum of the spleen, and this is called as the splenic recess. This is called as the splenic, between the linorenal and gastrosplenic ligament. This is the third recess, splenic ligament. I hope you have understood the boundaries of the lesser sac in vertical disposition and in the horizontal disposition, and you have also understood about the three recesses, superior, inferior, and splenic recess. Let us now come to the applied anatomy of the lesser sac. If you go to the applied anatomy of the lesser sac, now there are three applied anatomy I have chosen. One is the internal hernia in lesser sac. Let us see how the internal hernia in the lesser sac will take place and why it is called as internal. Usually the hernia is the outside protrusion of the abdominal viscera, okay, or abdominal content through the gap or opening in the wall of the abdomen, okay. But here the coils of intestine or omentum can protrude through this opening into the lesser sac inside the cavity of the lesser sac. This is called as the internal hernia. Sometimes the coils may go here through this gap and lie inside the lesser sac, and they may get strangulated. Strangulated means the twisting will take place in the coils of intestine, okay, so that there will be collection of the fluid, okay, and then this, once the collection of fluid takes place, it will swell up and this cannot go back. That is called as the strangulated internal hernia in the lesser sac. Now, in any way it will not come out, okay. So what is done is that through the omentum, okay, through the gastrosplenic or through the lesser omentum, okay, this contents of the intestinal loops are first drained so that it gets collapsed, and then this loop is pulled back through this additus or through the opening of the lesser sac or through the epiploic foramina, okay, which was not possible when it was full of the fluid, okay, loops were full. So this is the internal hernia of the lesser sac, okay. Now then second applied importance is the gastric ulcer may perforate in the lesser sac. Okay, when the gastric ulcer is in the lesser curvature here, which is the most, well, these gastric ulcers are usually found either at the lesser curvature of the stomach or in the posterior wall of the stomach. Okay, from where they may rupture. The ulcer, when ruptures, the contents of the stomach will come to the lesser sac. From the lesser sac, it may pass through the epiploic foramina or this foramina of the lesser sac into the greater sac. It may spread into the greater sac and may go to the hepatorenal pouch or any other pouch, okay, depending on whether the patient is lying, okay, or it is sitting, okay, it will go to the most dependable part, okay, of the peritoneal cavity. Now this rupture and the escaping of the contents of the stomach which are acidic is very painful condition. Okay, it is very painful condition. So this is one of the important condition. When the rupture of the ulcer of the stomach takes place, it will first go into the lesser sac, Now this is surgically repaired and the peritoneal cavity is vast. Okay. Now the third condition is the collection of the fluid in the lesser sac after pancreatitis. What is pancreatitis? The pancreas is present here in the posterior wall of the abdomen, and this pancreas is, when infected or when it is inflamed, this will produce lot of the serous fluid which may go and collect into the lesser sac. So this is another condition similar to the when the gastric contents comes into the lesser sac. Okay, so the fluid collection will take place in both the condition into the lesser sac. Again, a very painful condition. I hope you have understood the short note on the lesser sac of peritoneum, its introduction, its boundary, its three different recesses, and the applied importance. Thank you very much for watching this video.